All right, let us move on to topic number 3. Meta and YouTube were taken to court for creating platforms with addictive features, and a jury held them accountable. Meta must pay $4.2 million. Oh, this is in California. Meta has to pay $4.2 million, and YouTube has to pay $1.8 million. And then it's not that much, but still it's something. And then, but also Meta was found liable in a New Mexico case for failure to safeguard users from child predators. And there they had to pay $375 million in liability. So, here's a couple of cases. Here's some hand slapping. I don't know. What do you think of this, Jody? You had some thoughts.
No, I mean, I think
Sora.
it's huge, and I think it's not the only way that these companies are going to get constrained. But I mean, gosh, like the way that tobacco and the parallels to tobacco just feel so strong, and the way that we pretty quickly, we should remember, like moved from a place where everyone was smoking to no one was smoking was through a mix of, there were landmark lawsuits, there were regulations on the ground, and there was like a real cultural shift. And all three of those kind of fed into each other and worked together. And maybe I'm being Pollyannish here, but I kind of see all those strains happening, right? You have lawsuits over here. You have people just like talking smack about AI over here. You have, schools banning it. I just think it's all coming together. And, like cigarettes, it just feels like there's a tipping point. And it's like you blink and it's like, oh my God, no one is smoking anymore. It's starting to come back a little bit now, I know, but still, I kind of do feel we're at the same way, and I have found myself thinking about that too. That my grandfather would just stand around and smoke all day and be like, "You shouldn't do this. This is pretty bad. You shouldn't do this." And I think about that sometimes when I'm holding my phone in front of my kid. I'm like, "Yeah,
right.
It's the same sort of thing."
I shouldn't do this. Well, it's interesting because with the Philip Morris and R.J. Reynolds settlement that really kind of. I mean, there was other legal cases, but in 1998, there was a settlement for $206 billion. And that was what really kind of super changed the game. And that's late. I mean, there was already no smoking stuff happening way before that. But that really kind of made it so that they couldn't market to minors. And there was just so much, And then you probably have noticed then after that in the 2000s is what led to all of the no smoking bans in cities at cafes and restaurants and stuff like that. The complainants argued that features like infinite scroll and the algorithmic recommendations and the autoplay of videos were designed to make users really addicted. Caleb, do you feel like in your personal life, among friends or anything, that there's any kind of a backlash happening, or is it still a complain lash, which is where I feel like we do a lot of complaining, but I don't know what people specifically doing to change their behaviors.
Well, I'm a comedian, so unfortunately we all have to make reels. And I think Mark Zuckerberg should just be forced to edit his own reels for the next 4 years as punishment, because it's such a freaking nightmare. Isn't it crazy that Gen Z are smoking again and they'd I'd rather do cigarettes than be on Instagram? Because I'd rather be smoking cigarettes than that. Yeah, I mean, I was off social media for years until I got into comedy, which is such a sad sentence to say. But I just want to make people laugh. And so then I have to go to these stupid ass platforms. Sorry if I can't curse on here. Stupid platforms and pump my stuff out to people for I would rather jump off a cliff, I think. They're terrible. Do you ever feel good on them? No.
And I also feel that there's some professions but that where you're sort of forced into it by virtue of having to get an audience and all this shit.
Right.
I feel very much
being a physician.
Being a physician.
Or the Secretary of Defense.
Right.
But I also feel that's the not. So part of me is okay, if you're a comedian or some kind of a musician or whatever, I understand that you need to be on social media. But if you are a therapist, why are you on social media? You know what I mean? There's because I think it's led to so many people feeling that they don't have to perform and do this kind of performative. I'm an expert. Here I am. Listen to me. Go on because I'm an expert and I have a platform and I have a fan base and I have a platform and a fan base. ugh, and it just like feeds into itself. Even, when they're not, if you're like an astrophysicist, you shouldn't have to be on these platforms, but then it creates this sort of like peer pressure feeling that professionally you should be on these platforms.
But
I think
if
like I was going to say real quick, Jody, the like rise of like third spaces coming back is a really interesting phenomenon and a real focus on that, because I think like all of the onus, like previously as a comedian, you go in the club circuit, you like put in your time, you do that, which is challenging and annoying of its own. But then you can do this other thing now where you go on social media. But I think people are like starting to find more of a happy middle where it's like, oh, we actually hate just like staring at our phones all the time. And we really miss like connecting to people. So I think that's like the interesting trend as we're going back. I think the venues maybe abdicated their cultivation of talent or just like didn't have the ability to do it financially anymore. I'm sorry, Jody, you were going to say something.
I mean, I'm thinking about the exact same stuff, and it's related to what we were talking about earlier with AI. It's like, being in physical proximity with each other, that's the only AI-proof thing in the world, right? And so this is all connected, that I do think people are going to like, I do see and think, and that there's like a real desire to like move away from the phone and move back to being with real humans who you can tell are real humans and have all the things that make humans special in real physical space. And I don't know, Negin, like the pressure for the physician to do reels on TikTok, that is there because there's an audience, first and foremost. And so I think if the audience dwindles and disappears, then the other sort of ecosystem will follow accordingly. And, there were physicians before social media, and they will be physicians after social media.
One of the comments that was made, we read an article in the Times about these two settlements. And
the level of homework that Negin assigns, I just want listeners to know, a little behind the scenes, is crazy. They can read all these things, write back, tell me that, make sure you read it, tell me your 5 favorite quotes. It's like,
yeah, we had a 4-hour test. We had to write those like little blue essay books.
So when she sort of casually says, "We read this thing," it's like I had spent the last 3.5 days.
Yeah, and Jody, you got an F, if I recall, is what I heard, right?
I mean, I got to take.
I got an F minus. So
I had to go to the library because I don't subscribe. I mean, it was crazy.
There was the optional reading, Jody, that I think we all know is not optional.
Oh, fair enough.
No, so there was.
But your TAs are very good.
There was a comment on the New York Times article, which maybe you guys didn't read all 1,003 comments. But there was a comment that I thought was really interesting that said, but isn't this kind of like the argument that caught up with McDonald's, where some woman blamed them for her obesity problem? We all consume social media, and it's likely caused some harm to all of us should the tech giants pay each of us. So are we sort of abdicating personal responsibility in any of this? I would like to say I personally feel like I have maybe one of the healthier relationships with social media of like most people I know.
Okay. Don't brag in front of us right here. Don't look at me when you say that, Negin. Okay.
And I only found that out because Tracy Thomas, who's been on the show before, we love her from the Stacks Pod. She talked about going on this whole thing and detoxing and whatever, and she got herself down to 2 hours on her phone a day. Whoa. And I was like, oh, I'm already at 1.5 hours. And I thought that was way too much. You're at 2 hours and you're congratulating yourself. So I realized, like, I do think I have a better relationship. But even the relationship I have, I think already drags me down. And so, so I think to the extent, like, if you're looking like, let's just call me a strong person. Like, if you're looking at a strong person like me, and I'm still being dragged down by the addictive tools, I do just want to go ahead and blame the tech giants, and I do think they should pay me personally. I don't know. What do you guys think about this comment?
I mean, as a nurse, that was my first career. It was a problem with McDonald's, right? They did design the food to be addictive, and we're finding out with like Ozempic and Mounjaro, like a lot of obesity is not people's fault, and so I think there's like a real stigmatization of using those. And I think we're just looking for the digital Ozempic is what I'm hearing, honestly. I don't know what that's going to be.
Oh, the digital Ozempic.
It might, we might not like this answer. It may be a healthier form of AI because apparently like there's always a like dark age whenever there's a new form of information that comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that AI, I've heard it's actually like decreasing the clout of these influencers and these like charlatans, because it can be like, oh, well, 8 people said that you shouldn't shoot acid into your veins to cure COVID, and this one crazy person does. So maybe we should listen to the other 8 people. So I think we're just looking for our digital Ozempic.
Yeah.
What about you, Jody?
Well, I mean, I agree, and I, in a way, think we had a kind of healthy version of social media when social media first arrived,
True.
when it was actually social, right?
Yeah,
and so I think the very
Very true.
specific thing that this lawsuit is about, and I think is the conversation is very clearly identifying as the main problem, is the addictive element that was introduced knowingly, which was the infinite scroll, the algorithmically driven infinite scroll. In the same way that like people have smoked tobacco for a long time, but when you introduce nicotine, which is addictive, you start to have a problem. And so, I just think we have a responsibility. I mean, that comment is like, you can always just be like, we're all on our own. Okay, fine. Like you could say that. And unfortunately, I think the people who run these companies tend to think that way, right? They're pretty nihilistic. But like, if you think that we live in a society and we should take care of each other, we should work towards a healthier society, then like this has to be addressed at a much more systemic level.
Yeah, I agree. And can I just say one more thing to the people, to the juries out there that are awarding these sums? I thought that the 4.2
You're going to give your
million-
routing number right now?
Well, I felt like the $375 million liability for failure to safeguard against child predators felt right to me. You fuck these companies, $375 million sounds great. Meta and YouTube paid collectively about $6 million to in this other case of like addicting a young girl. She started social media when she was 6. Mm-hmm. And she, talked about all of the basically personal harm and injury that she experienced. And in that case, I thought $6 million was low. And I want to say to jury, actually don't know how this works, but to juries, I would say, don't be afraid to charge, to say this amount of money goes to this individual, because this case will open this up for other individual cases. Like this is not the last Jane Doe, whatever case we're going to hear about social media addiction. I'm sure this opens them up, and then there'll hopefully be like some kind of master settlement the way there was with the smoking. And it'll be like a fucking crazy amount, and they'll actually have to put in the safeguards and make the changes. But I would say, in the meantime, let's drain them for what they're worth by not only giving individual people like large sums of money, but let's say it's like $6 million goes to this individual, and then $100 million goes to the city of Sheboygan for their blah blah, whatever. Just like let's have this be part of the social good. And I think there's a mechanism, in liability to do that. I'm not sure if there is. I'm sure there is. Like I think you can say, and this amount of money gets divvied out to whatever program that's designed for
Meta has to give $4 billion to beginner improv classes.
For example. Thank you, Caleb, for saying what was on all of our minds. That's right.
We need more improv in the world, is what I'm hearing.
Digital Ozempic, guys. Can we invent that? How do we invent that? Do I talk to
AI
Eli Lilly?
Help.
I know, or who does it? Okay, guys, what a delightful panel you both make, and I would love for the people of Fake the Nation to be able to follow you in all of the wonderful work that you do. Caleb, where do they do that?
Yeah, I'm Caleb.meringue, like the pie. And then you can also follow the Drill Master Play or Luigi the Musical. All of that's on, unfortunately, Instagram.
I think you said Caleb meringue like the pie, but you meant to say Caleb Zeringue like the pie.
No, my Instagram handle is confusingly Caleb.meringue.
Oh, it is meringue. Okay, see, that
People
is
don't have to
because the real Caleb Zeringue wanted $1,000 for that handle, and I was like, that's not worth that. You're an 18-year-old child.
There's another Caleb Zeringue? Come on.
Right.
The balls on that guy.
I can't believe there's another Caleb Zeringue. That also makes me angry.
Go get him. I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
He's probably a nice guy. Jody, where do they find you?
I just want to, push people to listen to This Day. We're doing like a whole year-long series around America 250. We're doing 50 Weeks That Shaped America is our series. We're doing kind of a bunch of stories that we feel like added up to get us to this moment. We also have a newsletter that's like doing keeping an eye on all the America 250 shenanigans that are going on. So thisdaypod.com is where you can find it. Yeah.
Jody, I fucking love that you're putting this much attention on America 250. I wrote a column recently for my Progressive Magazine column, which was like celebrating America 250 in a time of like shit bags. And I feel strongly that like celebrating this country and like what we aspire to be, not necessarily what we constantly are or are not, is a form of resistance. And I'm fucking into it. So like people, please subscribe.
Like, it's coming for you whether you like it or not, the America 250 thing. And like you're going to have to sort of sit with it and ask yourself those questions. You know, how do I feel about this country? What is my version of patriotism?
Yes.
You know, and so you know.
And like it's okay to sort of like celebrate an ideal and strive towards it while recognizing that we are not currently in that ideal.
What's the in pursuit is the most important part of that phrase, right?
I mean, at every birthday, I celebrate an ideal of me that is not actually happening. You know what I mean?
Your screen time, though, you're crushing it, Negin.
Yeah.
You know?
And you're going to fix the bra size thing. Time. It's going to work out for you.
Guys, 1.5 hours screen time. Okay,
That's
let
crazy.
Everybody know. Folks, you know where to find me. By the way, I'm going to be guest hosting, Wait, Don't Tell Me this week. So if you hear the show on Thursday morning and you live in the Chicago area, you still have time to go see tickets. Otherwise, tune in to NPR this weekend to catch Wait, Don't Tell Me. And, but the bigger news, this is the bigger news. Thursday, I don't know what day of the week it is. April 28th. 28th. Yeah. San Francisco, the Lost Church, me, the Muslims are coming. The Muslims are coming with equally threatening friends. It's going to be a wonderful show with Helen Hong and Nato Green and other comics. So I really hope you can make it. If you're in San Francisco, it's cheap, it's fun, and it's a bunch of stand-up comics that I think are just like top of their game and in a threatening fashion to this country. So come out and see the Muslims are coming with equally threatening friends in San Francisco at Lost Church. Otherwise, I want to thank everyone who makes the podcast a possibility. That's our wonderful producer, Rob Heath. Thanks to Gabi Alter for our theme music. And you can reach us at fakethenation.podcast@gmail.com. You can support us at patreon.com/Negin Farsad. And otherwise, we'll be back in your earballs next week.